Ollie tries not to fall for advertising, but this brochure that came into his mailbox was kind of perfect. It was for a cabin, a place you would go for a quiet weekend. And it had pictures, and it said there was no internet, there's no cell phone service, there's electricity, but no television. It was just a quiet cabin in the woods. And it looked so cozy. It said that it even had like a nighttime mode on the lights, so that automatically at, I think it was 9 p.m. or something, the lights all got kind of dim and amber colored like you were sitting by the fire. But other than that, electronic flourish, all analog. Sounded lovely, all I thought. So he looked at his calendar for when he could get away for a weekend. And he went to the website. He did some due diligence first to make sure the place was real and wasn't a scam or things like that. But it all seemed on the level. Or at least it seemed like a real place that other people had been. There were reviews on Google Maps. The website looked professional enough without being too slick. Because the premise of it was that this is an individual rental. Anyway, I decided to go for it. I was excited. He decided that he would rent a car because he had to drive to get there. But then when we got there, he would leave his phone and his computer in the car. And he would check it only once per day. Maybe not even that, I thought. And he got in there and it was a beautiful spot. It's out in the woods, kind of next to a quarry. And just a little 2-room cabin. Well, 2-room plus the bathroom. There was the main room, which had the kitchen. And a little, not really like dining room, but like a little breakfast nook. And then the living room with a little seating area. And then there was the bedroom. It was all this wood toned. It was a paneling, the walls, I mean, like wood paneling, but it really made it look like a log cabin kind of a vibe. It was cozy. I got there at about 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and he relaxed at the cabin for a bit, and then went to go do a hike, rather. And he got back to the cabin a little bit before nightfall. He thought about setting up a campfire. There was a fire pit, but he decided he didn't even want to do that. He just wanted to go in, read for a little bit, have a cup of tea or something, and go to bed early. Which doesn't sound very exciting, but it was a relaxing prospect. So I did just that. And we got into the bedroom. He hadn't really checked out the bedroom before, not at night. And that's when he noticed that on the walls and on the floor were hundreds of little stars. I looked up close and they were just little glow-in-the-dark stickers. Nothing hugely elaborate. But because the lights had been on and there was sunlight in that room during the day, there's a little skylight, they were all glowing brightly. So I got in bed, and man, that bed was comfortable. Curled up, looked at the stars for a while, and he started to try and look and see if the stars, if they were accurate, if it was like a real night sky, like, matched the stars you would see on Earth at some certain time of year, or if it was a random configuration. He's looking around for some constellations. And before he knew it, doing that, he'd fallen asleep. He woke up in the morning. Sunlight was coming in through the skylight. Well, not really a skylight, but one of those solar tube things where it has a lens and brings light in from the outside, but you don't full on see the sky. And he was just so comfortable. He didn't feel like getting out of bed. He was so comfy and cozy in there, and the room was cool but not cold. He thought, if I was in a hotel, I would just reach over and get room service and make them bring me breakfast in bed. And he was thinking about that, how nice that would be. But of course, that wasn't possible here at the cabin. And quite to his surprise, he fell asleep again. He woke up a couple hours later. But man, I must have been tired. I'm still kind of tired. Wow. I have been working too hard. So I just reached over, grabbed his book. He was reading a science fiction novel about two explorers in a rocket ship. They were heading their way to a foreign planet. And he just sat up and read for a while. The bed was so comfy. He wasn't sure how long he read, because next thing he knew, he was waking back up again. Holy cow, I said I must have fallen asleep. He looked at the book, and it was sitting there next to him, face down, so he picked it back up again and tried to reread the past couple pages. He was like, I'm not sure when I fell asleep. I don't remember these pages. He flipped back until he found a spot that he remembered. And then he stretched over to get the bookmark. And the stretch felt good. It felt so good that he fell asleep again. Well, he woke up and he started to be concerned. There's being tired, there's being overtired, and then there's being unable to stop falling asleep. Ollie looked, and there wasn't a clock in the room, but he could tell by the light of the skylight, which was dim, that he'd basically slept the whole day away. That's not something that happens, Ollie said to himself, unless you're sick, or unless something weird is up. He put the book away, and was determined to get out of bed. He found, quite to his surprise, that he couldn't. It wasn't an illusion. There was something weird going on here. At first it just felt like it was really comfortable, but now it felt like he couldn't escape. But it wasn't quite a physical thing. It was like some sort of mental block. He steeled himself. He stood up on the bed. He could feel himself wanting to lay back down and go to sleep. But now he realized this might be some sort of trick. I might be in danger. So he walked toward the end of the bed, and it was harder and harder to walk the closer he got to the edge of the bed. It was a big bed, like a California king. Wider than even a normal king-size bed. Took up almost all the room, which had been kind of cool when Ollie had first noticed it, but now it seemed like a trap. But he pushed and pushed. Again, surprisingly, as hard as he could, he had to push to get to the edge of the bed. He just couldn't get off of the edge. It's a weird feeling. It seemed like his body could do it, but his brain wouldn't let him. He fell back in exhaustion, and he really didn't want to fall asleep again, but that's exactly what he did. He woke up again, and it was nighttime. The stars on the walls and the ceilings were shining. But Ollie was determined to stay awake now. He was determined to get out. But how? Ollie sat there and he thought. And he got up as best as he could and kind of paced around the bed so he wouldn't fall back asleep. Something's amiss here. Something's not right. I've got to get out of this bed. Then he realized that he'd been able to reach over and get his book. The nightstand extended a little bit over the bed. And when he'd gone to get his book, that wasn't that hard. So he squeezed himself as skinny as he could and walked in sort of a weird crab walk across the bed to the nightstand. So, like it was some sort of magic circle, just interrupted by the nightstand. So it's unlike a magic circle. With a magic circle, when you break the circle, the whole spell falls. But here, it's just like there was a little hole in this invisible bubble that was holding him in. But Ollie could squeeze himself pretty skinny. To put his whole body through just the spot where the nightstand extended over the edge of the bed. And it was tight. He basically stepped over his own book and squeezed himself through. As soon as he was through, as soon as he was out over the outline of the bed, he flattened himself against the wall. He squinted to try and see, was there some sort of force field? But he didn't see anything. But he was moving, he was up, and he no longer felt sleepy. He was outside, whatever it was just in the outline of the bed. That's exactly where this aura of sleepy laziness was. So he scooted around, hugging the wall as tightly as he could, until he got around to the doorknob, swung the door open, and swung out of the bedroom. Once there, he turned on all the lights. He tried poking at the bed with the broom. There's nothing obvious going on there. He got back out the flyer and started to investigate it, looking for clues, when he heard a rustling noise outside. He looked at the window and he saw a car pulling up. It was still pretty far away, so I turned off all the lights. Thinking quickly, Ollie thought, it's a trap. They're coming, and they thought that they had me trapped in the bed. I've got to make them keep thinking that, at least until I can get clear or get the advantage of them. He looked around for places to hide, and he realized that the safest place where he could hide, where they wouldn't think to look, might be right over the doorway. It's a good 1.5 to 2 feet above the doorway, and the door jamb, the trimmer on the door was really thick. So there's enough of a ledge there that Ollie could hold himself against the wall and be practically invisible in the dark, especially. That's exactly what he did. He climbed up there. He made sure that the door was closed, so it looked like he would be in there and trapped. And he waited. The car pulled up, and he parked. And he heard 2 doors open, people get out, and then 2 doors shut. I thought, all right, I've probably got 2 people here. I heard them come up onto the porch, and then open the door. Yep, they hadn't even knocked. Hadn't even waited, they just walked right in because they, Ollie was sure now, thought that he was trapped. And indeed, that's kind of what they said when they came in the door. There's 2 people, a woman and a man. The woman said, he'll be incapacitated now. I've got that bed rigged. Once you're in it, you can't get out. Is it some kind of magic spell or something? You could think of it like a magic spell, but actually it's all electronics. There's electrodes along the edge of the bed and a ring around the bed, just wrapped around the perimeter. It puts out this signal, this field that just makes you confused. It messes with your brain. It's a clever thing. I came up with it. It's based on radio technology. But instead of transmitting sounds, it messes with your head. And almost nobody can push their way past, at least not that I've tried so far. I put it in cafes and restaurants and in all kinds of places and tested it. Nobody ever gets through. They can't just walk through. Ollie heard all that. We couldn't really see them well. because he was debating if he should try and grab him or if he should focus on escaping. And he realized that he hadn't really brought much inside. There was his book, but he could get another copy of the book. And he had a pen and a piece of paper, but hadn't really done anything with it, and a few groceries. Better part of valor, I thought. And as they went to go look in the bed and confirm that he was there, he slipped out through the open door. As quietly, as quickly as he could, he went over and went into the car and got his phone, and took pictures of the car and of the cabin, the license plate and the VIN number. He thought he might not have much time because they had realized pretty quickly he wasn't in there. So he quickly let all the air out of their tires, then got in his car and drove away. Well, when he got back into the city, anyway, not even the city, if he got back within, there was cell phone signal. He called the police. He told them all what had happened. The police agreed to send somebody out. Excuse me. Ollie had pulled his car around to a spot not in the driveway, but off the side of the driveway, and turned the lights off so he could watch. He'd seen the people come out, and they were trying to pump up car tires with a bicycle pump that they had in the trunk. Ollie had also brought his binoculars in addition to his computer and his laptop, so he could kind of see. It was dark, but he could see well enough. If it takes a long time to pump up car tires with the bicycle pump, and pretty soon the police arrived, having found everything exactly as Ollie described it. He watched them put the two people in handcuffs. And once he was sure they were caught, he turned on his car again and drove up slowly. Didn't want to spook the cops. And pulled up and said, "Hey, it's me. I'm the guy that called in the complaint." Took a while to get it all sorted out, but it had been a plot specifically to capture Ollie. Some old criminal that Ollie had helped put in jail a long time ago. This was his mother and his cousin who were plotting against Ollie. But now they were going to jail too. Ollie made his way back to his apartment. He was sure he'd get a refund for the next couple days of his stay, or more accurately, he would reverse the charges on the credit card so that they got billed for it instead of him. I thought, well, it sucks that it was a conspiracy to try and get me, but I did get a lot of really good sleep. And that was the case of Ollie in the comfortable bed.